thank you so much for coming tonight. This is the already 8th TechFellows Meetup, so thank you so much for coming. We might have actually more people coming, so we'll slowly start. TechFellows Meetups, they started with a simple idea, to connect, to share and learn from each other. And exactly about sharing, this panel discussion will be with these three gentlemen. And my name is Zsofia Prokop. I've been with Slido for 8 years almost, and I'm also a facilitator at Speaking Heroes. And tonight we will explore an interesting topic. Founders are all very often visionaries, but are they also the best fit when it comes to scaling and growing the company? Or is it better to hire a professional manager to take the company further? So we'll explore this topic with experienced manager and currently serving as the CEO of Delegation, Jan Zitra. We also have Michal Hrabovec from Anasoft with over 30 years of experience in software company. And co-founder, founder, and currently serving as the chairman of the board in GreenWay, Badik. So thank you so much, and we will be using Slido. So please submit your questions. If you have any questions throughout the discussions, we will take them also throughout the discussion. And before we'll get to the discussion, we would like to learn a little bit about you. So tell us what's your current role. We want to make it as tailored to your interests as possible. So are you a manager, founder, C-level executive, individual contributor, freelancer, or all of the above? Probably we have also some people from this category here. Okay, 3 people voted, already 5 manager, C-level executive. It seems that right now the majority, we have some founders, okay, individual contributor, but mostly managers. So, perfect. So Jana, we'll start with you because you have to leave at 7. So, before I've read it, before joining Delegation, you've actually considered investing in Delegation, but you decided to join as a CEO.
I did both.
You did both, perfect. So, what excites you actually about being an executive? And have you founded maybe a company yourself before, or
no? I'm not a founder. I'm too chicken shit, as they say, for that. I don't really know. Honestly, the way I got to do what I do is that I was at university and I was studying quantum physics, and I realized that I'm so shit at it that I would never be able to do anything with it. And so I found a job in a corporation picking up phones in tech support, which was awesome. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. But in that job, I met a very good manager from a corporation, amazing guy, very talented, very communicative, and I really got inspired by what he does by connecting people and making big groups of people work together, and it just inspired me, and somehow it kind of moved me in this direction. I really like solving problems, and I really like working with people, and I really like business, so somehow it kind of came together, and here I am. I don't know.
Thank you. Misha, you've been with Anasoft for 34 years. 1991, you founded the company. And you still work closely with your CEO, who is also a co-founder of the company. Why does this setup work for you? And you mentioned that it's been like this for 20 years already. So why does it work for you? You are responsible for the strategic side?
Yeah, it's a long time, that's right. And these are all our young people. Probably I should go to the very beginning to answer a question. And the truth is that I was 19 years old in the second school of university, and we founded Anasoft, my schoolmates and guys from the students' houses. And it bankrupted within 2 years because none of us was the real manager. But then guy who is with me for more than 30 years, and his name is Stanislav Čekovský, and he was for the time, he was the manager of the students club. So he was the right manager. So then we became together, then sometimes I'm laughing that I'm more in the strategic position like leader, so I should know where to go, and he knows how to do it. So these two skills fit together somehow, and luckily, so after the first bankruptcy, we then survived for more than 30 years, but sometimes it's tough in the beginning.
But so you work closely together, are you involved somehow in a day-to-day operations?
No.
Or no, not at all?
No. In the very beginning, for sure I had to do everything. We were just 4 of us. But then, as the times passed and I moved higher and higher, let's see, more and more people were coming. So I lost my real passion for programming, and I had to do much more complicated things like to create a strategy. So that's what I'm doing, but it's not day-to-day operations.
Right, perfect, thank you. Thank you recently, that's very recent, like 1 month, right, from the new investment. You moved from the CEO of GreenWay to chairman, and you appointed a new CEO. What's been the biggest shift personally for you during this month?
Well, technically, legally, it is really like 1 month, but factually, I think it's much longer because our business is specific in a way that we need to secure with a lot of money. We have capex intensive, so over the course of the past years, I secured for like more than 150 million euro for investment, and therefore I spent a lot of time with this activity. So that's my basically probably the biggest contribution I can get to the company is to bring the money in, so we can build more chargers and be bigger and so on and so forth. And it was only last year, I would say, when we had to, for various reasons, and because we wanted investment, because we had to fight for some investment. So I was for almost a year kind of disconnected already from the kind of day-to-day operation. Despite that, or put it this way, I spent with the day-to-day operation maybe 20% of my time, 25% of my time. So very naturally, this involvement somehow forced us to already start organizing, unfortunately, in a way that there is a guy who basically I can rely on. I can ask him to do this kind of operational stuff, organize this thing, and now we formalize it, and he's really now the skill of the company.
So, what's been the biggest shift for you personally? Apart from
for me personally, it was really something that I wanted to do because I'm not a good manager in terms of the people management. Hopefully I inspire people, but I really hate to have these weekly or monthly assessment and appraisal and all this stuff. I don't know how to do it. I always get 100%. Okay, that's not fun. And for me, like I like to understand our business. I like to understand how it works. I like to understand generally how the things works. So I can really focus on understanding how the business should be, how it should evolve in the future, how it works in other companies. So I'm trying to spend a lot of my time with my peers and in Europe and discuss this. And that's really something which I can do with a passion, but not this day-to-day management thing, especially people management. I have one guy here who can confess.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you for really brief introductions, and just to also give you the context behind this topic and why we decided actually to have this panel discussion. Maybe you've read the article or you've seen the video, but Brian Chesky last year, I believe it was in autumn, he gave a talk and he talked about founder mode. And from that it went viral, and he basically explained like what does the founder mode mean. But what he's saying is that great leadership is about presence and not about absence. That founders should actually be very in the detail, right?
when it comes to the company, but it's not micromanaging, but it's just being curious what's going on in a company. And Jano, you experienced when you joined TechFellows, it was very founder-led company, and you joined and it become manager-led company, but it wasn't necessary, right? But how do you think that the team actually perceived the change? And was it hard? And what was maybe one of the first things that you did to actually?
Who is this Brian guy who said that?
Founder of Airbnb.
Okay, nobody cares. You know what? I don't like this distinction because at the beginning of the life of a company, it's super important that the founder is extremely present. But over a period of time, as you are scaling, the company has to transform because you cannot scale. And that was the case with web support, that was the case with TechFellows, that's the case with many companies, vacuum lamps, I'm on the board of vacuum lamps. It's the same story. At some point, founders, unless they become good managers, they become a single point of failure for any company. I think I strongly believe in that. That was the case for Steve Jobs, that was the case for Bill Gates, that was the case for any founder, Travis Kalanick from Uber. It's just the same story every time. And the reason for that is because you have a certain passion, you have a certain skill set, and as the company evolves, it requires different skill sets. And unless you're able to keep up and match that, or you complement your team in a way that help you. Mark Zuckerberg is a good example where he's not a better manager than he was 20 years ago, but he has built up a team that can run stuff for him. So I don't like this comparison because any founder has to at some point become a good manager or move to a German position or whatever, you know, because just you realize you don't want to spend the time this way or you want to get those skills, you want to get different skills and do different things. That's great. That's absolutely fine. Just saying that if you run a company, you have as of a certain size, you have to be a good manager. There's no optionality. And so going back to TechFellows, when I got there, it was extremely founder-led, and the founder was not a good manager. So it's from my perspective, it's a very simple thing. The company was happy about the change, for the most part. You know, of course, you know, I instituted certain rules, certain policies, certain regularities, certain rhythms that you may describe like weekly meetings or performance reviews, whatever. But if you want to run like TechFellows, when I ran, had hundreds and hundreds of people. And if you want to run an organization like that, you have to have certain rules, which I have to abide by as well. It's not, the rules are not just for me, they're for me as well. And yes, you know, in scale-ups or startups and small companies, corporate rules, you know, that's crap, and you know. And the reality is that we have a warehouse, 15,000 square meters, where if you don't have rules, if you don't have processes, if you don't have rhythm, it's not going to work. We have an e-commerce platform active in 25 countries. If you don't have rules around it, it's not going to work. You know, if you don't have pricing policy, if you don't have discount policy, it's not going to work. And so, I see a lot of startups, a lot of scale-ups that tell me, you want too many rules, you are putting structure in place. Yes, it's unmanageable otherwise. The word manage means you bring order into chaos. And if you're scaling to a certain size, chaos does not work. That's just not it. That doesn't mean that there isn't space for creativity, for a little bit of chaos, for disruption. There should be space in it. But it's like a stack, you know. The baseline stack, the operations have to be rule-based. It has to work because that's the only way to scale. And then above that layer, you can build chaos, you can build creativity, you can build innovation, but the baseline has to work. Especially if you're a business, you know, if you're a charging company, operations have to work. There's no space for chaos there. It has to work, right? It's the same for software, for anything you do. But the moment you don't have that in place, the company can't scale.
Right. We have a quick follow-up question. What's the biggest challenge to manage a company after a founder?
Founder's ego is one thing. They want to somehow protect their legacy and say, well, you know, we thought about that, which is, I understand. And I have the utmost respect for founders, don't get me wrong. I think what founders do is have the courage to start something and work on it for 10 years when everybody around them is telling them it's nuts. It's not going to work. Like, Misha Luban started web school in 2002. I got there in 2014. For me, it was like, you know, it's a short period of time, I made nice money and everything. He spent most of his life in there, if you think about it, right? Really persevering, really working hard, and for the first 12 years, he got not a lot of money out of it, right? So to have this perseverance, to have this, it's a founder skill or whatever craziness, whatever you want to call it. You know, it requires a lot. I didn't do that. Maybe I wanted to help you do something. So for me, the most difficult thing is that the founders have to reconcile the fact that their skill set either no longer matches what the company needs, or that they don't want to do what the company needs right now. That's the most difficult thing.
Okay, thank you. Misha, what do you think, and also I have one question for you from the audience. What do you think has helped Anasoft to stay founder-led so long? And then a follow-up question, where do you find a good co-founder?
That one I already answered, right? It was it was in my surrounding. It was somewhere where I lived my daily life, in a student house. And by the way, university is the great place to meet the people with similar everything like you, or at least you have enough time to know them personally well. So it's a little bit less space for make a mistake or a big mistake. So take your time to know the person perfectly, because I know a lot of stories about startups that those co-founders are a complete disaster. But back to the question, we have 5 divisions in Anasoft, and they are led by their own CEOs. So we have, in fact, 5 CEOs, division CEOs, and there's some lessons learned about what worked and what not. One of them is that the best CEO that we have tried already to be an entrepreneur. So they founded their own companies and they failed. And because of that, they perfectly understand where's their real talent is. And they were happy to be inside a bigger structure where we can fulfill the rest of what they're missing. But as I see it from the other perspective, the entrepreneur is the person who can take a risk. You told it already, a little bit different words, but that's the point, that those people, the CEO level, somehow should know how to handle the risk. And probably your statement that you brought was about the corporate managers who just need to stay on their place without taking any risk. And that's what I think also is completely wrong for the future of the company. So, which is definitely not Jan's mindset. He's not a corporate structure manager, and what he told is, I know him for several years, and he perfectly handled the structured operations in the company is everything needed for the growth and for the risk taking. That's the part which I think those managers haven't took. Right?
Yes, it is like, I think what also Brian meant with that was like they tried it, but it was about the involvement and basically not being involved by those CEOs, right?
So it wasn't like about the structure, like it wasn't anything commenting like the structure, like it was commenting the present.
I don't know those story, but I read the article about the managers of Nike and Adidas, which was similar, that those two companies were fighting for many years, and that's one of the reasons they became the most famous shoes company. But then the structure normalized managers took the role of controlling the operations, and those two companies became flat in everything, and haven't been able to be the leaders anymore.
Peter, what do you think is the size of the company where corporate structure have to be implemented so it won't fall apart?
Not easy answer because you have various types of companies. Like you can have a company which has basically very simple structure and business model, but have a number of employees because they have a lot of people in some fields, and then it's a different management structure which you need if you have a company which is doing a lot of different businesses. Like in our case, for example, we're doing everything from putting the cable on the ground to answering the Facebook and almost like telecoms or whatever broad activities. So I don't think that you will get an answer in terms of the number of people, but maybe in terms of the complexity. As Jan said, you need to have at certain point, and if you are really understand your business and what can bring you value, what doesn't bring you value, what costs you money, that you understand at certain point that I need to have the order, I need to have a rule, I need to have the processes and so on and so forth, because otherwise I'm losing here, I'm losing here, I'm losing here. And I think that's the good role for the founder, someone who understands the business, is not only to understand how the business is done in a similar company somewhere else, so I can adjust my company, because no company is static. Every company is evolving, not because it's only growing, but as well because it's the environment around you is changing, the business is changing. So one thing is to understand how the business is done, but as well you need to understand what's happening inside. So once you realize that you need to have these processes and there is no other way than to get someone who is really very good at it, very typically it's not a founder. Then that's the right time when you say, okay, I need to start to work with someone who is able to set up these processes, and usually it's not done from one day to another. You can go out and hire the CEO, but even if you are doing it this way, the realization of it, how you think, if it comes to the company and how this stuff works, it takes years. So you need to be clever to spot that you need order, you need rules quite early enough before it's really a big mess, and start to work on it. So rather earlier, and if you think that you will need these rules, start to do it much more sooner than you really then decide to do this kind of formal split of CEO and founder.
So have you, in GreenWay, have you hired internally the CEO?
We actually, I started to work or establish a branch in Poland, and there I found by chance the guy who was exactly the kind of a process guy, which I was not. And he was leading the Polish branch, and then basically kind of naturally evolved in a way that the heat house is running the whole company. As well because the Polish branch was growing significantly and it's bigger than Slovak, but nevertheless, his skill set is very complementary to skills which I know. And I agree with you that he needs to have all these things which you said, and someone can find it more.
There's also a question, how do you hire a good CEO? What I'm also interested in is founder has a certain skill set, right? When a founder is looking for a CEO, are they looking for a completely different skill set, or how do you actually say like, oh, this is the skill set I want, and how do you find the right CEO? How was it, Biano, maybe with you at the web support? Was it different at Daedalus?
I think these stories are usually very unique. And with web support, the fact is that a couple of years before, I was living in Belgium actually, and a Belgian company was looking for an acquisition in Slovakia in hosting. And I knew Michel Druan from Startup World, from various events, And I say there's like this interesting company you might be interested in buying, and so I introduced them. Actually, my younger brother was the banker of the acquirer, of the buyer, potential buyer, and I was a friend of Misha. So we kind of connected over a dinner. They discussed, and at the end of the day there was no deal, but at least we made a connection. And then when Michal was looking for a CEO, we kind of came back to that meeting saying, hey, we had a good discussion, you know a bit about the business, you know the players of the market a little bit, etc., etc. Hey, would you be interested in this? So what usually happens is that in the orbit of the founder, there are potential candidates if they just, if you look around. I rarely, don't get me wrong, I think headhunters and stuff like that works. You can find a good fit, but the risk is much higher than if you find somebody in the orbit that that is closer to it, has the important network, has the relationships, that, you know, so and has the right skill set. So it's better if you find someone in the network, but you can also use headhunters and stuff like that. And with Daniels, it was a different story because I left web support at end of or beginning of 2022, I think, and I actually didn't plan on working for a bit. I didn't want to do anything, and but I had some money, so I was investing and stuff like that. And the Daedalus came to my table as a, like, you know, saying that I was putting some money in there and trying to finance. So I was interested in that, and I took some meetings also with Misha to look at it and stuff like that. And in those discussions, I met Yaro, and he was explaining a lot of the stuff about the business, and I was just having discussions with him. And at some point, he came to me saying, "Hey, don't you want to give it a shot and try and turn it around and save it?" And we started talking, and over a period of a few weeks and even months, maybe we at the end of the day we agreed let's try it. You know? So I'm not sure there is a consistent recommendation I would make out of it. The thing is that you have to feel it. There has to be some sort of chemistry that works. I think that's what you found in your CEO in Poland, right? That's what you have in Stano. There has to be a certain chemistry that if that works, then that is quite powerful. And also, if you feel that it's not there, then don't do it. That would be fine.
At Web Support, you actually started as a head of sales at the very beginning. Was it because they needed to scale and like,
no, it was a test.
It was a test.
It was a childish test from Michel, because he felt like, oh, I first need to see how we work and blah blah blah. I don't think those kind of tests work. I think Ferro is somewhere in here. He was part of the test. Is he somewhere? No. You can ask him. He was part of the test because he was running the B2B part of the business, and the head of sales was actually part of this process. And no, but it was a bit childish, and from Michel, he didn't know any better, so I played along. But we said like, let's just try it for 3 months, and after 2 weeks, said like, fuck it, let's just go all the way, because it didn't make any sense. But I think it was important for him to get the comfort, and I'm up for it.
Right.
If this is what you need me to do, I am willing to put the effort in to try and make it work, and let's see. So, but it took like 2 or 3 weeks, and it was not so.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. Where do you find the energy to tackle hard work and everyday challenges without giving up? I think that's a good question for all 3 of you.
All three of us.
I don't. I think you know I have a chief of staff at Delos, and she has this picture on her table saying like work hard, play hard, or something like that. And I always tell her that's the wrong attitude. Like the idea that you should work for 15 hours and sweat, and don't get me wrong, when a company is getting started, you will put the sweat and you need to put it in, but it will not feel like you're excited, you feel it, you want to put the energy in, because if you don't, then don't do it. It's a lot of work getting a startup off the ground. If you feel you have to put the 15 hours in just because you have to, then don't do it, it's stupid. But if you find yourself excited and working for 15 hours a day because you are passionate, great, do it, right? I think that's it. I don't work 15 hours, for the most part, I don't work that much. I try to alternate things, I try to delegate, I try to be efficient with my energy and the energy of my team, because it's just work. Sorry, it's just work at the end of the day. Okay, and if if you spend yourself on that, then where do you get energy for tomorrow or the day afterwards? It doesn't start. As I said, Michel, it took him 10 years to get a website to a point where somebody like me would be interested in working there. Right? So can you spend 10 years of 15 hours a week? No. So I don't know. I mean, like I try to find the energy in my passion, but I think it should be 15 hours a day. I guess.
It's not sustainable. Misha, what's your take on this?
I definitely agree that for the first 10, 15 years, it's no-brainer. We have to. But then the question is right, and I read in one article that it's very dangerous to be focused on just one thing, because if that one thing fails, very probably the person will fall down into depression or something. So it's always better to be keen on something else also. It could be sport, for example, and something that if you fail in work, that the other thing will keep you.
What is your other thing?
My other thing is music. I'm playing in rock band, pop rock band, so I'm playing usually saxophone. So, not much saxophone is playing rock. But yeah, last year we did a Pink Floyd tribute, and we will continue this year also playing. So that's what I'm doing during the nights in my basement. Nobody can hear that noise, hardly typical, but that's what I'm doing. And between summer, for sure, for younger years, it was kids and family, that I was very useful for them. And now my 3 kids are adults already, so I'm not useful anymore for them, so I have to begin something else. So that, yeah, so in the very beginning, that was more than 100% work. Then I got families and family. Then if your kids grow, then for me it's music.
Okay, thank you. Petya?
I still work a lot, and although now I try to a little bit slow down, but very often I'm the last one in the office. But I have to say that I'm still have a feeling that I'm doing what I want to do, and it's basically doing it kind of call it a passion or whatever. But basically, it's something that I decided. Not nobody pushed me. I can do something else if I want. So therefore, I feel kind of good and self motivation or self satisfaction. I cannot play music. I'm pretty bad in sport and many things. So basically, I'm probably good in what I'm doing. Hopefully. So I really find my motivation. But it's interesting because part of this latest investment round, we were, okay, it doesn't matter, simply. When I talk with our CEO, if he works too much, he thinks that he's doing something wrong. He didn't organize it well, he didn't automatize, he didn't properly manage it, so for him, it's like, he worked a lot as well, but if he really stays, he needs to stay all very long hours during the weekend. It actually means that he didn't properly organize his time. So maybe I'm just wrong in organizing the time.
There's a great question. We'll just break it up a little bit. If you were to start a company now, which area would you choose?
So I have a bunch of ideas that I don't want to disclose. It's a very popular answer, but AI, it's everywhere, but I think the fundamental challenge today still is that the applications are very limited. And people are thinking, okay, how am I going to automate processes with AI? There will be no processes with AI. There's a lot of very deep work that you can do with large language models, a lot of specialized models you can do, a lot of non-IT stuff that you can do in biotech. There's lots of opportunities. So I would probably pick a vertical in in AI where I would like to do something. Healthcare is a good one. There is lots of things in that. But also, for example, social media. Because right now we have a social media that is built on the previous model, which is algorithms. And I think AI is a solution to that. I'm not good at it, but that's something that would interest me. Building a competitor to Meta would be great. And they are in a very powerful position, that's why they're investing in it, but a small disruptive company that is not American would be interesting, so something like that.
So you're looking for a co-founder?
No.
Who knows how to do it technically?
Yeah, I think this requires a younger mind, but I think there's lots of opportunities that, yeah.
Okay. Misha, any interesting ideas?
Definitely, I would look for a co-founder who knows what I don't. And if I find some probably by something, then the AI can I add to it. But I'm seeing a lot of startups. I'm the mentor in Slovak Technical University Incubator. Supervisor board of 0100 Ventures and so on and so on. I see a lot of companies, and that's typically what I'm missing is these co-founders coming from the different segments who can then mix their talents and their knowledge together. So I would not start any company without knowing anybody with deep knowledge in something else. So the answer will come if I'm starting something. I have to be lucky to meet anybody with skills that I will believe that can bring something positive to our lives. And I believe that the mission in CE with his knowledge is the right one. So by myself, no.
Okay.
And then one more note is that similar that you don't want to start any. I can't imagine I will do it the same as I did as I was a student, so with more than 100% of my energy and time, which is required building up the company from the scratch.
Right.
So I don't have that energy anymore. So definitely should be under people got that energy and still don't have families, for example, which is.
You're also mentoring those founders, right? So, like, that's a huge benefit that they can get from you.
They are listening. Not very obvious.
Thank you.
Well, I cannot imagine doing something else, to be honest. The reason is I said I like to understand how the things work. So I'm not on a kind of detail level, but on a kind of conceptual level. And I found in my career that even the simplest business which you do, it can be very complex. And especially if you think about the global things, how to do things globally, and really, even if you want to have a good restaurant, if you have a 3-star Michelin, it's a pretty complex business. And somehow in the past 20 years, still operating in the same. And my vision is rather, or my passion is rather be excellent in that one thing which you do. And also, for example, yesterday, by the way, elected as a vice president in charge of Europe. So I'm sitting with in association with the CEO of all big companies in our sector, and I still see that I can learn and I can be good at that. So I cannot somehow imagine myself switching now to completely something else because I would feel that I don't understand that. I don't understand it properly to build something which can be like big. Okay, maybe I can learn. That's maybe I'm just afraid of change. But I feel that everything is very complex. If you want to understand it, even on a strategic level, and if you want to build something like European, worldwide, then you need to focus on that and understand that.
And I'll will ask you a follow-up question because you said like something you understand. How do you make sure you as a chairman now are still connected to the product and to the customers? And is it even possible from your position now?
Yeah, I think it is, and actually it's a kind of a healthy challenging. So I think there is a challenge, there is a healthy challenging between me and CEO, and there is a healthy challenging between my shareholders and myself, and which force you to understand these things, how it works. So I need to build it up, still understand how the things are happening for the company, and to understand where the costs are, what drives our growth, and so on and so forth. So it's not a question if it's possible, if necessary. In order to be able to challenge my CEO and in order to be able to answer questions to my shareholders, I need to understand these things.
Perfect, thank you. We have 5 minutes till Jan will have to leave, so I'll have very practical questions to you. We have many managers in the audience, and you're obviously an experienced one. What's one thing that didn't, I don't want to say fuck up, but something you failed and you learned from it? And what's one piece of advice that you give to managers in the audience?
The number one mistake I always make is I always fire people too late.
Okay.
Always. And I have done it hundreds of times, and I still am too nice. And the thing is, I say too nice, but it's not being nice. It's being actually bad because the person is not getting the feedback they need. And it's very human. I always say to my managers that it's human. It's very simple. If you feel this person should leave, then probably you're already too late. You already should have done it a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or a month ago. Throughout my career, I've done this too late. And the one recommendation I would say, like, if you are uncertain about a certain team member, act fast, because the toxicity is a very strong word. Low performance spreads faster than good performance. Bad culture spreads faster than good culture. It's just bad people do a lot of damage that is difficult to change. In 2 years at Deloitte, I've still not been able to change the culture because I fired too slow. It's just a fact of life. I don't know how to change it because I wanna be correct. I wanna be decent with people. I wanna make sure that the organization understands why this change is happening, and all these things take time. Whereas if I look at it retroactively, if I just cut it out and be done with it, yes, there will be brouhaha for 1 day or a week or a month, but at the end of the day, usually when you fire people, not that much happens, honestly. So all the pictures you're painting in your head of this person, and they're gonna get sad, and they will be depressed, and others will leave, it rarely actually happens. So that's one practical thing. When you're firing people, ask yourself whether I shouldn't have done this a month ago, or 2 months ago, or a year ago. Because I've, in my career, many times said I should have done this a year ago.
Thank you. Interesting one. Are there any CEO leaders, founders, or managers that you admire and who have influenced you significantly?
Yeah, I have had really good bosses historically, but it's not like no person is perfect. So what I tell people is just take the best of that one, and put it together. Like don't. I also tell my managers don't consider me an example for you. Just learn practical things, learn leadership, but build your own, right? And the same is opposite, that I hire people from whom I can learn, right? So there's lots of people who inspire me that are actually below me in my organization. I have an amazing CMO who is super smart and is super, I come with an excited idea and he looks at me and goes, yeah, no. You're cute, I'm happy that you're passionate, no. And he has a way of really factually and very clearly, stoically explaining himself, very, kills me. I would love to have that skill set. I know, but so don't just get inspired by people that have achieved things. Look at what was that actual contribution, right? Like if you look at Steve Jobs, there's great things, he has great speeches, but a lot of the technical thing behind it was done by other people. go deeper if you want to learn from other people. Because if you just take it on a super, I've seen it with Misha, for example. Like people, I love that guy, he's a friend, but he's not a great manager, right? He's, in a way, he was visionary at the time. He's an amazing starter of projects, from political parties to other startups. He's built a lot of stuff. But once he gets to a certain size, he knows that he's not the greatest at that, and he finds people. That's a great skill set, to know when you're at your own limit. So don't get just inspired by people about you, but look also in your team. What can I learn from people from mine?
Right. And it's fair to say, we all have different strengths. Before you go, give us one book recommendations. Again, considering that we have mostly managers in the audience, that they could.
I used to like manager books. I hate them nowadays because it's. I read so many good books. It's hard to pick one, but if you want a managerial one, I think Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman is really good. It's a very technical book. It's very boring to read, but it's very good if you choose through it. But if you, I'm going to do a kind of a matching set. There's another book about Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, which is called The Undying Project, and that's their life story, the authors of Thinking Fast and Slow. And that's a much more interesting, much more fun book. It's less technical, but if you look at the history of these guys and what they lived through in Israel and in the US and through all of their work, it's an amazing line. So those are the two I would recommend.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna, for coming, for
you.
joining us, for your time, and all the best to developers. We'll continue with the same question. So, CEOs, founders, leaders.
So the mistakes,
Mistakes, the books.
That's the question. Okay, so let's start with the mistake. A few times we try to pick up the manager from the company and push him to be the CEO of the division. And it's a crucial difference between the project management and company management, division management. And it's that project managers know how to manage quite complex projects with time, scope, and budget to be perfectly right, but without any risk taking. And that's what can hurt those people if their talent is for project management. I think that it's not necessarily true that they will be perfect CEOs. So to step up, but we did that mistake a few times. Sometimes luckily we say, okay, sorry for that, and please stay with us and go down. If their egos is not high, then they are able to move back to the project manager position and nothing happens. But in many cases, it's not how it goes, and those people are in the company and they feel that they fail. So it's a matter of communicate to the other people that we apologize for the wrong decision, and it's not their failure, it's ours to pick up the wrong person. Perfect in project management, but not so perfect in managing all division, where the other things are maybe more important to manage what others are telling to do. Projects are set up with the time frame and budget, and that's what the talent grows for. Okay, the book. I don't know the name, but was about the BRCs. Maybe the name was something like "You Are Not So Smart," something like that, and that's about 100 very short BRCs that you can meet in your daily life. The BRCs are telling us that we see the things wrong, it's very helpful for me to think about about each case that is described in the book. It's great. What was the second one?
The CEOs, leaders, and founders who have inspired you.
Okay, so I try to find person in the particular business that we are doing. So, for example, one of the division is providing the biometric signature solution globally, and the guy who's following and reading his stuff. His name is Lemkin, and he founded the company and then sold it to Adobe 10, 12 years ago. It was 9-digit number, I guess. So very successful guy, and then he started to mentoring the others, and it's very useful for me to see that particular segment. So that's what I'm doing. It's not very helping me to see Steve Jobs. It's nothing similar on business.
Yes. Well, it's great if you have it around. Like that's. Petya, what about you? We have the book here actually, because you've seen it in the bookshelf. So.
Yeah. I just coincidentally saw it in the bookshelf when we discussed before we started. That's actually.
So why this book?
Yeah, that's the book is called Extreme Ownership, and I read a few managerial books. Most of them, for me, I don't like them. But this one is really particular one, exceptional one, because I think it's not the guidance or process, but basically the basics about how you can organize your organization in a way that you can trust your people and really just have a look and maybe there is not a big set of ideas there, so maybe you find if you just hear it on LinkedIn, link this, what it's called, very quickly. It's just so, but I really like it, and even my kids have to read it. And then what was this question? Yeah, leader. Actually, again, I'm repeating it. I like to understand the things. I think things are really very complex. A lot of things are very complex, and if you want to be good at it, you should understand them. So therefore, I like those leaders who basically go the same path. For me, it was at the beginning, a big disclaimer at the beginning, Elon Musk, who with his first principle thinking. So that is really something where you try to understand how things works, not in a technical level only, but as well on a business level, on how on a commercial. So trying to understand, debunk it, and then reconstruct it and think how you can use it. But obviously, I'm totally not commenting about his past few years, which he's doing. It's a shit. And what was the question? So mistakes. Well, I don't know, like it or not, I cannot recall like very big mistakes. But for example, when we talk about the hiring of the people, we had 5 CFOs. So it's basically similar. It's not the CEO, but trying to hire into the someone is the second level of organization is taking care for your financing and everything. And we hired 5 people, one after another. It was over the last 7 years. And that was a series of mistakes. And actually, always when we hired, after some times, we never knew if we have the genius or treasure, in the company. And then this was very even to the last moment. We cannot decide: is a genius? Should we hire? Should we keep him because there is something which we do not understand and he's doing extremely well, or this is a completely disaster. And then we repeat it 5 times. Now, hopefully, we have a guy who hopefully is more genius than disaster. That's all I want is just to get a little bit more genius than disaster, and that will work hopefully. So, yeah.
That's actually interesting. Was that because of hiring, or was it like?
We tried everything. We tried agency. We tried word of mouth. So, yeah. Some of them are great guys. I never know what to be honest for.
Right. I'll go actually back to your scaling era. Misho, when you think back, when Anasoft was scaling, where did you personally find it like difficult to let go and delegate? Because like to delegate, and also we have managers here to delegate, it's quite difficult. So was it difficult for you, or how did you actually approach it?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I have to learn how to overcome, because those managers are doing things different way how I like to do it, like I used to do it. So I have to understand that I gave them competence, so I gave them freedom to do it by themselves. But then the challenging thing is to see the borders where my long experience is saying this is definitely wrong, and I'm not allowing them to do the same mistake. So I'm learning how to set up the border where I can let them go to do their own mistakes, and where's the border that I see that it will hurt the organization more than is acceptable. So I try to explain them this is something that you are not allowed to do.
Okay, can you spot it always when they're actually hitting the boundary? Because I can imagine that's quite a difficult thing to do, right? To have like
to avoid the conflict, or to have the conflict. No, I'm gonna have the conflict, but with all the kindness I can put into it, and I'm trying to explain and to teach and to bring my own experiences. Sometimes it's not working. If those people are not with zero experience, they even don't understand what I'm saying. They can't see the results 2 steps ahead of what could their decision bring. Probably it will bring. So if they never experienced that, they probably have to believe that I got true.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Very quickly, I think we also already touched on that one, Petya, but at what point situation founder realizes he needs a professional manager? What was it for you, the moment when you realized, like, okay, I'll move to the chairman position and I need a professional manager?
I think it's a really evolution, because generally you have managers in the company all the time. Yeah, it's maybe not the top manager, but you have a manager for various fields. So there are, if you have a larger, we have something like 200 people. So in different things, different fields, you have managers which have to have a skill set and so on and so forth. So you're building, and then just you realize at one point that okay, I need someone who is managing all these managers. He's managing all these managers because it's as well a system of work which needs to be done. So you are not going from total chaos into something which is working. Evolution.
Right. Okay. We'll go very quickly through the questions. Do you think there is going to be a unicorn company from Slovakia in the upcoming decade? So GreenWay it is.
Yeah, definitely there will be unicorn.
Petya, do you agree?
The question is, what do you define as a unicorn? Because I don't.
Evaluation is about.
I just now it's not.
That's what they call it.
Analysis is stupid definition. So when you make the 1 billion profit, and I'm not sure if you're going to make 1 billion profit. No,
and if not, charging station for electric vehicles, in what sector do you think it's going to be?
Are you talking about the startups, right?
Yeah,
unicorns. Yeah.
Because he said it's already unicorn.
Well, if there is another
Did you
sector.
earn million?
For sure. Valuation.
No, valuation. Did they earn million?
No, it's about valuation.
Valuation is
Yeah, it's a stupid definition, but it's definition.
Okay. Very quickly, was it hard at the beginning? All kind of, or I think it's or all of the time for you when you were building your companies, or is it still hard now?
It's like with kids, which periods is harder? You know,
All of them.
and the one which you are in, this is the hardest thing.
I think that the change, it changed during the time. So it's a different kind of difficulty. In a startup, it's very difficult, but you can handle it by yourself. When the company grows, then you can't solve it by yourself. You just need to find a way how to change something in the company and to create the structure or the processes that will solve it. And it takes time and people management and a lot of explanations and communication and everything. So it's different style of hard work. It's also very hard, but different way.
And I think you need to be always ready that it's going to be hard tomorrow. Because something can come, and for our sector, for example, we went through the pretty big crisis last year, and I know the companies which were acquired by a huge multinational company with billions of revenues, more than 6,000 people employed, and so forth. And they were acquired 2 years ago, and then came one Monday, and on Sunday evening they learned that they're cutting them off completely because CFO decided. So you need to be ready always that tomorrow can be pretty challenging, and it's as well as the mindset, because you need to be ready to lose everything.
Last two questions, and then we will do the closing question. But how is your company different now when you have professional leaders managing their teams versus setup where you had to lead the company? What do you see as
it's
the
much
main
bigger.
difference?
That's the difference.
Apart from the size of the company,
Yeah.
like maybe with the people, the culture, like do you see any differences in the culture?
Hopefully not. I can't be sure anymore because the company is too big. Then, meaning, if you have more than 120, I guess it's the number of people from that above. It's very difficult to know who is your employee and what is he doing or she's doing. So you don't know the people who works for you, and then the culture is more difficult to handle. But still, going back to the definition, the culture is, I like the definition, the culture is how you make decisions in the company. So it's not something that you can bring, it's something that people around you see how you make decisions, and if they are, for example, ethical, what's your decision criteria to make decisions, tough decisions. And your managers will decide it's the same way, hopefully. And their people, if it's a more level structure, hopefully will see how they make decisions, so they will decide based on that. So hopefully the culture will stay the same, but it's hard to be sure. Even I'm not a manager, I'm not running the daily operation, but still I'm every day in the company. I'm trying to talk to the people from every level. So I'm typically, we have our own canteen inside our building headquarters in Slovakia. During the lunchtime, I can talk to anybody in the company about what he or she is doing, and anything that. And sometimes it occurs that something is not working well, and that's something that I can talk to and handle with managers. Something wrong, and it's also hitting the culture if we solve the problems that we see inside our companies. Somebody described it like if you go out from the daily operations, then you like the eagle flying about the company and seeing the surrounding of the company. If you see some flame down there, so you're down there to see the flame, you can help to help the other people solve it, because you can't by yourself. And then you can fly up about high and see what's happening from above. that's what I'm trying to do. Even it's sometimes difficult because I'm entering our canteen and I don't know the names. I don't know the names of the people. I know they think that I know how, but I don't.
But you have very open culture, right?
Yeah,
Does that
right.
make sense?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Betty, last question from the audience. Do you think the sharing equity with CEOs make them more engaged? Or do you see it as a pro tool?
Yeah, depends. When we have as well internally, for example, some employment share option plan and this kind of stuff, and it works sometimes not work. And honestly, we have it, but I see that, and I'm spelling kind of skeptical to it. Maybe it's just because of our nature of our company, so we are not a fast-growing startup where I can say to people that, okay, next year we are going to be valued, we are going to be unicorn next year. If we are going to be unicorn, it could be in 15 years. And people at the end needs to have kind of visibility. Okay, I'm going to translate this into my personal wealth. I can buy something. I can buy independence or something for my family. So I think in certain sectors, we're just going just small moving. It's hard to make the link between this ownership and okay, I'm going to buy it one day. So I don't think it's not a panacea for everything. It's you need to be very wise. Sometimes it can be very interesting. Someone can feel really be engaged because of it. But I think you will not replace this or provide this. You will not replace the real engagement, like for the type of the work, like for the culture, like for the people, like for the colleagues. It's not going to replace this. Just okay, I have a shares and shares will. This maybe in the US somewhere in Silicon Valley.
Okay. So the closing question. We have a bunch of managers, founders. What's your one piece of advice that you would give to these people so they can actually apply tomorrow in their day-to-day operations or in their work? What would it be from your experience of building great companies?
I will help with this book myself. Own your problem, own your stuff, be the owner, feel that everything which is you are somewhere in the hierarchy, and you own everything below. Mm-hmm. So I used to say sometimes that I have to own even the fact that the glasses in the kitchen is not properly washed or something. I hope that I have people who feel the same, and I don't have to do it by myself. But I think as an owner, I need to own all the problems and all the issues I cannot hide, and request the same from all people in the organization, and then it can work.
Take the ownership. Misha?
Okay, I'll try this one. I believe that entrepreneurship is a noble vocation, so do only things that are useful for people. Okay, make their life better. If it's not, then if the motivation is money, then it's wrong motivation.
That's also in your vision, right? That you're making products to make it useful for people. Right? Misha, Peťo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. With us for the rest of the So we have some drinks and snacks. Thank you so much also for coming and for joining us. This was the 8th TechFellows Meetup. I believe that you will also get an invitation for the next one. But the community is also planning to start with podcasts. So if you have any interesting topics that you would like to talk about, please reach out to either Lubo or Laura from TechFellows. And I believe you can come up with something together. And and thank you so much and enjoy the night.
Dobře, že jste potom mohli spolu.
Když on šel, jsem se ospravedlnila, strhla jsem.